Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Terra and Tats. And yeah, before I get started on the review, just one thing I need to let everybody know. Um, okay, you've been following this week. We're doing a theme week, and the theme week is cult horror, films that have to deal with cults. And here's the thing, usually at BodyBags, we usually kind of have, it's kind of a rule of ours that we try not to give away too much of the movie. We try not to give away, spoilers and things like this. But, I tried, after I picked this movie and got it approved to do, I tried to think of a way where I can come up with a way where, I could go without revealing the spoiler of the film, but I can't do it. So this is going to have to be one of those times where, I'm going to have to give away. I'm going to have to give away some details. So, spoiler alert, starting now. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm pretty much going on the presumption that if you're watching this video, chances are pretty good you've already seen this movie. So, yeah. But in case if you haven't, you might want to stop the video now, go watch the movie, then you can come back. The movie that I decided to go with is Hot Fuzz, and this is part of the Cornetto trilogy, the collaboration of Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost in all three movies. And Hot Fuzz, I know there are probably going to be people like, wait a minute, dude, you're supposed to be talking about horror films, and Hot Fuzz is not a horror film. It's in a way, it's kind of like yes and no. When you talk about is Hot Fuzz a horror film? It's kind of like yes but no at the same time. I've had people argue with me, literally argue with me, and say I tried to explain to them it's like this movie is not really a parody, but it's kind of it takes a satirical tone with like buddy cop action movies and detective thrillers and giallos and even some slasher films and things like this. And try to explain that to people and they're like they will fight with me. They're like, "No, this is a horror film." And it's crazy because it's like even though like first and foremost these are comedies. They're meant to be funny, all three of these movies are meant to be funny, right? I know people who, no matter what, you try to explain it to them, they cannot and will not see the humor in these movies, especially this one. They do not see the humor in it. They do not see the kind of spoof kind of take on buddy cop movies and action films and stuff like this. They do not see it, and they will not see it, no matter how much you try to convince them. It's like, what was it Toby Jones' character said in The Mist? You can't convince some people, what was it? You can't convince some people that the house is on, that the house is burnt. You can't convince some people the house is burning even if their clothes are on fire. I think that's close to it, close enough. But anyway, let's go ahead and we'll get into it. Now, like I said, I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, chances are you've seen this movie, maybe seen it multiple times. I know I have. And I adore this movie. I think it's wonderful. And yeah, I mean, and I was very, very lucky. I consider myself very, very lucky when I asked, can I do, since we're talking about movies that deal with cults, could I do Hot Fuzz? And I got the go ahead. So I was really, really happy about that. Okay, now the story. The story is about Simon Pegg's character. His character is Nicholas Angel. He's, a London police officer, and he's very intense. He's very into what he does. He's very much a police officer. And he's, he is that kind of, very by the book, very, opinionated, very strong, very hard-headed police officer, and he's very much, you can't sway him. And he is going to do his job. He is committed to his job. You could even say I think even there's like a cameo. You can't see her face, but it's Kate Blanchett, doing a cameo in the film. And even she was like, you're married to the job and stuff like this. So, Nicholas, he's this amazing police officer. And there's even a quick, cameo by Peter Jackson at the beginning of the film. He's getting into a scuffle with a guy dressed as Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus takes a knife and stabs him in the hand. That's actually Peter Jackson dressed up as Santa Claus. So, yeah, there's a lot of, same thing with like Shaun of the Dead. Now, when you watch Shaun of the Dead, there are like a zillion little clues, little Easter eggs, little tidbits that let you know, kind of, break the fourth wall, or, just kind of give you an idea of, like zombie films or references zombie films and stuff like this. You get something pretty similar to this. And so anyway, so Nicholas, he gets kicked out of the London police, the London police service for basically doing his job too well, and he's making everybody else look bad. So they end up his instructors, Bill Nye and Martin Freeman and Steve Coogan, they decide they're gonna kind of like just try to get him out of the way. So they send him to this little village called Sanford. And so he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay, but everybody pretty much wants him the hell out of the London Police Service. So he goes, he goes to this little village, Sanford, and he's there, and he meets his superior, played by Jim Broadbent, Frank Butterman, and his son Danny Butterman is played by Nick Frost. And immediately, Nick Frost's character is, he's obsessed with action movies. He loves cop films. That's the thing. Like Danny is a cop in this small village where pretty much nothing really goes on, and it's kind of boring, just not much going on, right? And so Danny fantasizes about the idea he would love to be like a big city. He would love to be in like one of those big cop movies. So he's always questioning Nicholas about, that's the thing, that tells you like this movie is kind of a Mickey take on, buddy cop films and, detective films and stuff like this. Because he's always asking, have you seen Point Break? Have you seen Point Break? There you go. Like next time somebody says like, you don't appreciate a woman or a movie by a woman director, Point Break, okay? Catherine Bigelow, Point Break. There you go. Now shut your face. All right. So anyway. So he's always asking him, don't you like movies like, Point Break or Bad Boys 2, things like this, Super Cop and all this other kind of stuff. And so Danny is this kind of lovable, kind of innocent kind of oaf that just kind of follows Nicholas around. And Nicholas, like at one point, like the most, interesting thing that Nicholas has going on is they want him to try to find a swan. This guy lost his like pet swan, and so they want Nicholas to find it. Okay, now as the movie progresses, you start to realize, okay, Frank, Jim Broadbent's character, is talking about how they have a Village of the Year award that's coming up, and Sanford is going to try for this award. They've won it before, and they come to find out, that the people in the town are kind of particular, and, and they want their town, I can't think of another word, but fascist is probably about the best word I could think of. They're kind of fascist in their approach. They very much want things done a certain way. They want the village to have a certain aesthetic look to it. Like, as a matter of fact, like there's one guy they can't stand who lives in the village. And the reason why, because he built this big kind of fancy posh house that they don't like it because it doesn't, it's gaudy looking, it's rich, and all this. And so it kind of stands out. It doesn't fit in with the rustic aesthetic that they like and things like this. So one thing that Nicholas starts noticing is like, wait a minute, there's some strange things going on here. And the main thing is we start seeing people turn up dead in very, very vicious, gruesome, bloody ways. Okay. And Nicholas, being the seasoned police officer that he is and his keen detective skills. It doesn't take him long to figure out that, okay, something is going on. This is not an accident. These people are being murdered. And, then you see, almost kind of like maybe like a little bit of a throwback to like Giallos. You see like the Black Glove Killer, and you see, a figure going around where, wearing kind of like a black cloak, and their face is covered, and you can't see who the killer is and stuff. But as the movie goes on, more and more people are being, murdered. But the problem is Nicholas is convinced that these are murders, but everybody else just, thinks that, no, it's just an accident. It's like, oh, this person, like, as a matter of fact, like one point of the movie, Nicholas sees this sweet old lady get, the killer comes up and stabbed her in the neck with pruning shears and all this kind of stuff. And so Nicholas chases him, but he's unable to catch him. And so, he's trying to explain to everybody, like, no, this is a murder and stuff. And, everybody's, well, no, it was an accident. Accidents happen all the time. It's like, you just come from the big city and you think everything is always a murder and all this kind of stuff. So everybody's kind of belittling him and stuff. And the one person who's, kind of sticking with him through this is Danny, Nick Frost's character. And then it gets to the point where, and I'm sorry, but this is the part where I have to go into spoilers. Now, Nicholas is getting too into this, and some of the kills in this movie are pretty bloody and gruesome. So, that's one of the things, like, yeah, even though this is more comedy than anything else, you better get ready. There are some pretty grisly, gruesome, violent kills in this movie. There is some blood and gore in this, So, but as Nicholas, he's getting too into, he's getting too in deep, and he thinks like his main suspect that he is thinking about is this character Simon Skinner, who's played by Timothy Dalton. Yes, the Timothy Dalton, ex-James Bond Timothy Dalton. The thing that is kind of interesting though is in this movie. Well, let me get to. Okay, so now we're at the part of the spoiler. So Nicholas goes and he investigates, and then he finds out that basically the town elders have formed a cult. And it becomes very much like the Wicker Man. And they even say, like, if you watch the bonus features, they tell you the original Wicker Man was a huge influence on this film. And that Nicholas Angel, Simon Pegg's character, is very much drawn. He's very much inspired by the character of Sergeant Neil Howie from The Wicker Man. So this movie definitely has a very, very strong Wicker Man vibe. So you come to find out that the town elders basically have a cult. And their whole thing is that their cult is all about keeping this town, a certain way, and try to make it idyllic, try to make it the perfect village, and anything and anybody that goes against their idea of the perfect village is dispatched. They will remove it, whatever means necessary. And if it means they have to kill, they will kill and stuff. And so Nicholas finds this stuff out. And so the cult has pretty much, they think he's dead because at one point, Danny comes up and before Nicholas goes to confront the members of the cult, Danny takes Nicholas's notebook and puts it in his breast pocket. And so Danny comes up and he stabs him in in the breast pocket in the notebook. The idea is to make everybody think that he killed Nicholas, but he just tries to get Nicholas out there and save his life. And so Nicholas is like on his way back to London, and then he realizes, like, I can't let this, because like I said, Nicholas is a very dedicated police officer. He is very much into the idea of he wants to do what is right. He wants to, obey the law to the nth degree and all this. And so, he realized that he can't let this go. And so he goes back and, he goes back to the town, and we get into a huge action-packed, blood-soaked, shootout climax, lots of gunfights, car chases, some gruesome effects, comedy, everything else. It's all in there. And and I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay? Now, they did say yes, this movie is inspired by movies like Lethal Weapon and Point Break, and even detective thrillers like Seven, and the fact that like I said, Wicker Man played a huge influence on this film because of Wicker Man, for the most part, Wicker Man is a detective story. It's a mystery, And so anyway, so Hot Fuzz is taking after that, and so, but this movie is amazing, and like I said, I think the thing, and here's the thing, I'm not even a fan of, I'm going to be honest with you, it's like I'm not big on like the Lethal Weapon movies. There was a point like I did not care for Mel Gibson, and there was just something about him that rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. And and I couldn't get into the Mad Max movies or the Lethal Weapon movies and stuff. And at one point I had told myself, get the chip off your shoulders. There's something about Mel Gibson. Everybody seems to like this guy except you. Get the chip off your shoulders and give him a chance. So I started watching some of his movies like Braveheart, which was excellent, The Patriot, Signs, What Women Want, and I started thinking, it's like, I misjudged this guy, and I feel better knowing, I should give this guy a chance and not be so closed-minded and stuff of this. Then I heard the audio with all that racist shit come out of his mouth, and I was just like, okay, I don't like Mel Gibson, so I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of the Lethal Weapon movies and stuff like that, but but this movie, I had an absolute ball with it. This movie is such a good time. I feel like, except for maybe some romance, this movie you get there is almost like they're not gay characters, but there is almost this kind of like bromance between Nicholas and Danny, But I feel like this movie you get pretty much everything you could possibly want out of a movie. You got the humor, you got action, gunfights, car chases, you got, paying homage to Giallo films and dark detective films like Seven and 8mm. You got the horror, you got blood, you got gore, you got some pretty grisly effects and everything else. You got a fun score. Even one part of the score was actually done for the movie by Robert Rodriguez. I mean, this movie has everything. You got a great cast, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, top of their game. Jim Broadbent is amazing as Frank Butterman. Great character. And one of the interesting things is like the town elders, the characters, the town elders, most of them were specifically cast because they were well-known villains in other films. Like the town priest is played by Paul Freeman, who you will remember played Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The what was her? Joyce, I think the character's name is. Joyce, who runs the inn, is actually played by Billy Whitelaw, who everybody remembers as Mrs. Baylock from The Omen. You got, Edward Woodward from The Wicker Man is one of the characters in this movie. I forget the one actor's name, but he played the villain in Lethal Weapon 3, and on and on and on. I don't remember too many movies where, that's the thing, like Timothy Dalton kind of stumps me. Don't get me wrong, I like Timothy Dalton, he's a good actor, I like him. I just don't remember him playing a big villain in a movie. He probably has. I mostly know him as James Bond. I can't picture that's why they would cast him. Maybe so. I don't know. But anyway, but that was kind of the thing. Like most of these actors that played the town elders, they were all selected for those roles because they played iconic villains in other films. And just, you have a great cast and, you got the great humor and, and if you love Shaun of the Dead, what Shaun of the Dead did for zombie movies, this does for, like I said, cult films and detective thrillers, buddy cop movies, things like this. So I cannot recommend Hot Fuzz enough. This movie is amazing. I've watched it many, many times, and to me, it just gets better every time you watch it. This is one of those movies I would recommend you watch it more than once. Because here's the thing, there are so many little Easter eggs, so many little jokes, so many little gags. You cannot get all of it. It's just impossible. You cannot get all of it in one viewing. You need to watch it multiple times to try to get so many of the references, to get so many of the jokes and everything else. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, watch Hot Fuzz at least 2-3 times. And the thing is, that's the best part though too, is that's not even really a challenge because the movie is so damn good, it's not gonna bother you to watch it 2, 3, 20 times. Like I said, I've watched this movie a number of times. I love it, man. I have a ball watching this movie. And I think you will too. So, and like I said, it's just, to me, it's so much fun. You get everything you can want out of it. So, anyway, though, so yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. So, yeah, Hot Fuzz, my pick for cult horror this week. So, yeah. Hopefully, since today is Friday and I'm the Friday guy, we don't have anybody for the weekend. So, hopefully we ended the week off with a good one. So, I think we did. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week, Monday through Friday. I'm the Friday reviewer, and this is just a lot of fun, and I'm having so much more fun doing this. So that's it, everybody. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later. Bye.